Now then, when you think of the writer Michael Morpurgo, you'll almost certainly think of his wonderful children's novels such as Warhorse.
Yeah, his latest book, they're very different. It's a selection of essays, short stories and poems for adults. And they're all about one thing. They're about his reflections on getting older.
Yeah, and we're very pleased to say that Michael joins us now. Good morning to you.
Great to be here. Nice to see you both.
Just before we get on to your writing, can we talk about a relationship that you've had in your life with Prunella Scales, somebody we've been talking about this morning who sadly died at the age of 93. You worked with her. What are your recollections?
Well, she worked in a film around a book of mine called My Friend Walter with another actor called Ronald Pickup, and the two of them were the two main stars in it. And I went for the filming for 2 or 3 days, so I saw her and I met her, and she just... What's wonderful about her was that she wasn't playing being the actor, playing being famous. She was already famous. She was just doing a job of work, and I got on very well with her.
And there are sort of parallels, because in the book you write about getting older and, you know, a death of anyone, and however old anyone is, it reminds us that we're here for a finite amount of time, that we have one go at this, don't we?
Tell me about it, as they say.
And this is what you write about in the book, isn't it? Yes. These kind of recollections that, you know, looking back but also looking forward, and I suppose that shift in, you know, how many years are ahead versus how many have passed, it's really...
Yes, and it's marked by the people you lose, which is bound to happen. You get to... I'm 82. So you know perfectly well you're in the winter of your life, which is fine, because I had a really good spring and a decent summer, and autumn's been great, and I've got grandchildren, and I've got great-grandchildren. I have nothing in the world to grumble about. But then you lose people. I've lost good friends, younger than me. It's always sadder when they're younger, but it makes you think harder. You know, you think harder about why you're here, what you're here for, and what's important. So it seemed to me to be a good idea to sit down and write a book about it, but it's not an autobiography. It's not me going back and explaining my life. It's really picking pieces that I've written for radio or lectures or whatever, and just putting them in the same book, and it goes back 40 years of writing. So you can sort of, it's almost like snapshots of my life over that time and how I've changed. And now I'm very, very wise and very old, and I haven't been before, you know.
When you've got such a back catalogue, how do you possibly go about and go back and pick those snapshots? Well,
I wanted there to be variety. So there's a play in there about children, about the history of children. There are poems, and there are stories. It's really done by telling stories, episodes, if you like, of my life. You know, growing up as I was just after the war, and coming from a family which had been split up by the war, there's all that going on as well, which is, I think I've put myself in my books, my fiction books, almost too much. I've used me up in my fiction books. And this was an opportunity, really, don't fictionalise it, this is how it was. And that's been very good for me. It made me concentrate on not looking back nostalgically, but being realistic about how it was, you know.
It was really interesting in the preface when you talk about that actually a lot of your books are not autobiographical, but you can see yourself in them. And so, like you say, this was your opportunity to say, no, actually, this is it. This is not me pretending to be another character, this is me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've cheated a bit. I mean, writers do cheat. And, well, we all cheat. But writers are particularly good at it, really, because we're basically, at heart, we're liars. We want people to believe the stories that we tell. But I find the best stories I have are the ones that have been part of my life. So, for instance, when I was little, I went to a rather horrible little prep school, and I hated it, and I ran away. And that episode of running away, I put in a book of mine called The Butterfly Lion. And children really like it, because to them it's Hogwarts, but it's real, you know, it really does happen. And I can write it like that because it happened to me. And I only got about half a mile, but it felt to me like 300 miles, and there was the threat of being beaten when you got back and all that sort of thing. Well, it's all very, very different today, and I think it's quite interesting for people to read it, and interesting for me to remember it.
And remembering it's so important, isn't it? Because in the book you write about never expecting to be old. No one maybe expects to be old, but then you suddenly look around and you're in your words, the old trees in the forest. I mean, that's quite a realisation, isn't it?
It is, but it also makes me it's a very positive book, but there are things that make me sad, and one thing that does make me sad is when I was younger, I don't think I had the imagination to think about how it was to be old. So I'm not sure I was all that kind all the time to my parents or my grandparents, or indeed to my teachers. And I had one teacher at school who was a remarkable man, but he was a single man, and we all thought he was rather strange. And It wasn't until he died, aged 103, that we discovered he was on that train which came out of Prague, the last train to leave before the Nazis moved in. He was a Jewish boy, and he'd come to this country, and he was a Jewish refugee at the age of 8. He was looked after by a vicar in Kent and sent to, actually, my school, and he was very, very bright, and he went off to Oxford, and he came back and he taught at my school. The school became his family. And we didn't mock him, but we sort of thought it was a bit weird. Well, it wasn't weird. You know, it was him sorting out this extraordinary life that he had. And I find that, so that I got another look at a person who I thought one thing of, and he wasn't like that at all, and I should have had more respect and been more thoughtful.
What would you like people to take away from your latest book?
I think, really, that we need to take time to stand and stare and think and not rush through life. And the thing that comes through, I think, more and more and more is the people I've responded to my life are those who've been essentially kind to me and thought. I had a godmother, for instance, Mary Niven, she was called. The last thing she ever said to me, she came from Aberdeen. I won't try and do an Aberdeen accent, but she said to me, last thing, she said, Michael, I want you to remember that people are important. Finish. That was the full stop. People are important. Well, I think I couldn't give better sort of tone to the book, because it does that. It's about the people who've made my life, and they've been important.
Someone who's important to you that's not a person is Joey, and you're going to be reunited with Warhorse.
Oh, that's going to be
Just
funny.
explain what's happening. You're in a station.
I'm in Paddington Station in London, and GWR have decided they want to name a train after Warhorse, so they're calling the train Joey, and they've done a picture of him as the puppet on the front. And I'm going to be there, and I think the British Legion is going to be there. And then at the back of the train, of course, is my name, and I have to sign my own name on the back of a train.
On the train?
On the train.
Have they given you a big felt tip pen?
I haven't seen what the paintbrush or something, I don't know. But they're going to do it, and I think it's wonderful. And the thing I'm really looking forward to is because, I mean, children's books very often haven't had much of a, if you like, prestige or interest in the general public. And on that station now, at a certain moment, you will have a statue of Paddington Bear, and you'll have Joey. And I'm going to try to make sure that Joey meets Paddington Bear nose to nose.
Oh, how lovely.
Wouldn't that be wonderful?
That would be incredible.
So that's what I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Michael Morpurgo, it's always lovely to see you. Thank you so much for coming in. And Michael's book, Funny Thing, Getting Older, it's out on Friday. Thanks
Thank you
again.
so much.
Nice to see you. Thank you.